Hey, Mega Moms! Jessica Hensley here with Real Estate Mega Moms, where we help moms create a life and a business that they love. And today I am joined by Tammy Pack. She is going to tell us all about this new book that she wrote. So grab a cup of coffee and tune in. Tammy, I see you dancing. That's what I do too, whatever it comes on.
That's great. I love that.
Gets me in the mood for my podcast. I love it. So, okay, Tammy, I am so excited to chat with you. Mega Moms that have been following us for a while. Tammy, I was introduced to Tammy by our mutual friend, Lauren Taylor, and she was one of our first speakers at the first Real Estate Mega Mom Abundance Conference back in 2019. And my impression of Tammy, I first saw her in the lobby of the Mayo Hotel. She had a cute dress on and she had these like cowgirl boots on. She had just got off the airplane, and I'm like, that girl, this is somebody I want to get to know. So, Tammy, you're awesome.
Thank you, sweetie. Thank you for having me here. I'm so excited.
Yeah. So, why don't we start by just talking a little bit about your real estate career, which obviously is how, we're both colleagues at EXP. So, and you really talk about that in your book too, about how you arrived at real estate. But tell us about your business.
Basically, I guess the shortest version of it would be I went to law school at the University of Texas Law School. Wasn't sure what I wanted to do, but I had a government degree and I was barely 20 and I looked 12. So my mom said I needed to get some more schooling. She said no one was going to hire a 12-year-old. So I ended up going to law school. I practiced for 5 years, then decided that's not what I wanted to do. And a lot of being a mom, a realtor, a human, to be successful is self-awareness. So it's understanding that law wasn't good or bad. It just wasn't a really good fit for me. And I figured that out pretty quickly, that I wasn't going to be long-term happy in that career. My daughter this day has her first day of law school. So I'm not anti-law, but she's a very different person than me. And she's now 25. So we've gone a little further down the path to know that it's okay for her to have a restart now, segueing to the book. So, yeah, after law school and practicing trial law for 5 years, I said, this is great, but it's not going to be a great long-term fit for me. So I'm going to make some changes. So people in my family were in the quilt selling business. It's so random. We weren't making anything. It was just importing. It was basically bedspreads. Think of it that way. Home decor and gifts in tourist towns. So we got into that. They just showed us how to do it. It wasn't a family business you bought into. You just could go watch and see what they did. So we saw what they did, went into business, was in retail, owning stores for 18 years. At one point had 6, learned a lot through that. But I always loved real estate. So along the way, the retail stores were enough to get me a little down payment or two to start buying not only our home, of course, but something that's really big in our area, vacation rentals. Airbnb, some people call them short-term rentals. So we started buying those. Then I think our first one opened in 2001. And then in 2007, we opened the reservation company where we were taking reservations for other people. So that's how that kind of came to be, that next part of the restart, right?
Mm-hmm.
So at this point, we represent about 218 short-term rentals in Fredericksburg, Texas. Then along the way, I met and married my husband, Wes, and we wanted to go into having a real estate brokerage, a real estate company. I said, something's got to give. So real estate, and real estate's in, retail was out, because it was at that point taking the most amount of work for the least amount of return. So we pivoted into real estate. And at first we opened our own brokerage. This was in 2015 when he and I married. We started in 2015 and we had, let's see, 3 sales that year, 2 of which were ours, but they were at the end of, we spent a lot of time on logos and all of this. So we had a few sales at the end of the year. And then with 2016, we started building and growing, started putting together a team. It was really a brokerage, but we were operating it as a team. We didn't even know what those words meant, but it didn't really matter because I had my broker's license. So by 2018, in under 3 years of getting into the business, we were fortunate to be partnering with great agents and be the #1 team in volume and transactions in under 3 years. So that was really exciting to do in our little town of Fredericksburg, Texas. 2018 is the year we also switched to EXP. We became a true team under the EXP brokerage label. And that's where we've been since. In 2021, we were the number one volume team at EXP for volume out of all teams between 10 and 20 agents. So I'll
Wow.
never forget, we were sitting on the back row with the little, dinner, eating our chicken at EXP Con, and we heard them call our name. We were literally on the back table because we got there kind of late. So we were running, I'm in my heels running up there. I was like, I swear they just said absolute charm. And we were looking at the thing. I even called the next week and I was like, did they get this right? Are we really gold? We're the tops. They're like, yes, you really are.
That's
So it's
awesome.
been a fun ride. It's been good.
Yeah, so her team is Absolute Charm Real Estate, right?
Yes.
In Fredericksburg. Yeah. So Tammy, I mean, there's so many things we can unpack there, but I love that you're like such a forward-thinking person, right? You're also, I don't know, just fascinating. I was telling you, I started reading your book yesterday. I bought it a while ago, actually, when I booked our podcast, but I've been so busy. But anyway, I picked it up and I probably read for about an hour and a half, and I'm already almost through like at least half of the book. Just some spoilers from the book. Somebody attempted to kill you with a bomb. That is crazy, Tammy.
Very crazy.
Yeah, crazy. But yeah, you were, I mean, just every step of the way, I could see, just overcoming, restarting, and that's the theme. So, a real estate agent mom that's listening to this podcast, what could she expect to get out of reading your book?
Well, it kind of walks you through all the unintended restarts. Because at least back in the day when I was coming up, you thought, okay, I'm going to do this career. I'm going to work in this firm or this company. I'm going to work my way up. I'm going to be the perfect mom, have the perfect family, the picket fence, marry the one guy, stay married to him forever. And then sometimes that happens for people, but more often than not, there are a lot of pivots and a lot of restarts. Some of them are your choice because you realize you're not happy or you're not living your best life. Some of them get thrust upon us. You can have a husband, a spouse pass away. You can have them leave you with really no discretion up to you. It's their choice, and they do. And I've lived through that. That was absolutely not going to be my story. My story was going to be everything because I was always the goody two shoes. I finished high school a year early, college a year early. I was always the go-getter. And so to realize that a lot of things in life are out of your control, most of life's out of your control. But what is under your control is always your attitude and what you do with it. Because in reality, I'm thinking more and more as I talk through these things, the biggest key to life is embracing the buck stops here mentality. The no excuses mentality. Number one, it's a waste of time. You can make excuses all day, but the facts are the facts. Let's move on. And the sooner you realize the only person whose actions, thoughts, motives you can control are yours. So it's just being practical. It's not that altruistic. It's just practical. You can change how you want to feel about things. People used to say, my friend who ended up working in our retail stores with me, she would be like, oh, how do you sleep at night? We've got these orders coming in, these bills are coming due, all of these things. And I said, I just made a mental choice to flip that switch off at night. And I do, because there have been times, and if you've lived in any business, if you've lived more than 2 years, you've been through stress and you've had things that would keep you up at night. And I literally had to get real with myself and say very early on and say, I need to be energized and rested tomorrow. And if I can't fix it right now, I'm not going to think about it. And I would actively cause myself to think of some fun memory, some trip I hope to do someday, something that was enjoyable, because it was a waste of time to sit there and not get any good sleep. It was literally to the point of get up and do something about it or flip it off and get the rest so that tomorrow you can. One of the two.
And I know you're a Christian, so I'll quote or refer to the Bible here where God talks about borrowing trouble for tomorrow, right? It's going to take care of tomorrow's troubles will take care of themselves. so there's no need for me to worry about them today. And I think that that's so true. I mean, it's a great skill to develop, and it's going to give you a lot more sanity if you can have some boundaries. Mega moms, that's one of the main things we talk about, is when to turn it off, right? And really it should be as you walk in your door. I know a lot of people work from home, but maybe you have your own, you can somehow compartmentalize your work. And okay, this is the end of my day. It may be 8 p.m. at night, but this is the end of my day. I'm no longer going to worry about or respond to anything real estate. And I promise you, there are no real estate emergencies at 9 o'clock that you really have to deal with right then, right?
That's right. That's right. And it's with everything. It's a real self-awareness situation of how you show up for things. I was telling someone earlier about my daughter who just started law school. Part of her journey, which had many restarts I talk about in the book, even at 25, today being her first day of school. But when she went up to New York, her first idea was she wanted to be a server at a high-level, high-end restaurant. I'll never forget, she got an interview at one of these restaurants. And so she sent me a picture. She had on her suit. She was just all fixed up, really ready for it. I said, "Oh, great. Is it going to be a Zoom call?" She goes, "No, it's a regular call." I'm like, "Then why did you get all dressed up?" She goes, "Oh, I will definitely be in a different headspace. If I show up and I feel it, they won't feel it, but I will feel it. And the energy in my voice will come out differently if I'm dressed and prepared for the day." I thought that is some pretty good self-awareness for at that time, 24-year-old.
Yeah, that's awesome and so true. So you mentioned teams, and honestly, that's kind of the theme of Real Estate Mega Moms right now. I'm all about building micro teams and showing people how to formulate a team in a way that's more sustainable and profitable long term. And I mean, you have some amazing success with your team. Can you give us any ideas and insight into what that looks like, what the structure is like, any caution that you might have for building a team?
Yeah, one big one. I even did a Zoom video, I guess a year or two ago now, called Team Leaders Anonymous, and instead of Alcoholics Anonymous. And it basically was just saying, we've got to stop, just like we've got to stop telling kids the only way to succeed is to go to college, which is not true. We need trades, we need a lot of things, and no one size fits all. We can't tell people that the only way to be successful in real estate is to have a team, because there are some of the most profitable agents earning the most money that I know who do not have a team. They have an assistant, somebody that works for them, and that's a great way to do it. Having a team for me has been wonderful. I love my team and I wouldn't change a thing, but it's not for everyone, right? It's not the only way. And like you say, sometimes smaller is better. Sometimes a micro team makes sense. Sometimes a mega team makes sense. A lot of factors that go into it is, number one, your marketplace. We are in a town of about almost 11,000 people, 200 and something realtors. So it's a different, people are like, "Oh, well, that's just limiting belief that you can't find as many agents." I'm like, no, it's a reality that if I'm going to bring people in and train them deeply the way we do and give them everything I know to the best of my ability on investment properties, cap rates, all of the things they're not going to learn in the other offices. If I'm going to do that, and there's out of those 200, probably 50 do $1 million or more. It's such a small group. I have literally trained people who I will be across the table with on every deal. So that's not a good thing or a bad thing. I just have to go slower and be really sure who I want if we're a good fit. If I'm in a place like San Diego where there's 30,000 agents, I might decide that for me, the model is going to be get in, get 2 to 3 years out of them, run them through a very regimented system, know they're going to leave. Who cares? There's 30,000 agents. I'll probably never see them again. That to me is not limiting belief. That's just facing facts. And your strategy should be different.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I'm in a small town as well, and I think that that probably has played into a lot of my thought process on teams and also experience. I had a brokerage. We moved to Keller Williams, which forced us to be a team. The people that I had in my brokerage at the before I moved to Keller Williams didn't like that. They didn't want to go from being an agent in a brokerage that was a free agent essentially to being a team member with expectations. So it imploded, and then I talk about that in my book as well. And so then today, Tammy, just so you know, the micro, what we teach is really understanding your business as a solo agent, and then making strategic hires to help and support you before you ever think about bringing on another agent. And some people never need to, really.
Right.
Like you said, they
Right.
have the profit, the time freedom, all of the things that, people that want to build a team, what they're actually looking for is profit and time freedom.
Well,
And
let me tell you, one of
yeah,
the things we tried that worked incredibly well, and I probably would do more of this if I were going back in time. So one thing we tried, but it was right as COVID hit, so it got interrupted. I didn't get a really great long test run, but we brought on an administrative assistant, someone to help me and my husband in our personal business within the team, and paid her in our, I think it was in the $50,000 range, something like that, that was appropriate for our town. Depends on where you live. But we said we're going to raise that to 55 or 58,000 as soon as you get your real estate license. Put it on them. She got her real estate license. This is someone who wasn't looking to branch off and become a realtor. This person really valued security and a paycheck. So I said, here's the deal. When we're too busy or it's buyers that we just don't have the time or energy to deal with, we're going to give you the opportunity to go show them. So her personality wasn't where she wanted to go out and be looking for business, but we're handing her something. And we're like, and on those deals, anything we give you, you can work during your work hours or whatever, because the split's going to be 75 to us, 25 to you. This was fabulous for her. She goes, I have the security, I have the insurance, the retirement, but I'll get a 25% bonus. Man, three, four, five, $8,000 bonuses when you have a fixed salary are wonderful. And suddenly she went from, this is my time at work and this is my time off, which is a very normal mentality of someone who works in the corporate world, to I'll work now, I'll work this weekend, I'll work whenever. So it was a really good fit. And I could see that with just, I think it was going to be 3 to 4 deals a year, she would have paid us for all what we were paying her in salary
yeah,
back and split. So we're kind of getting someone for free.
yeah.
And like what she's going to show sometimes during the workday, I'm like, yes. And so I'm getting what, only 32 hours a week of free assistant to us. It was such a win-win, right?
Yeah, I like that thought process. I really hadn't thought about it that way. But I do have the same situation. I have 4 team members that are more salary positions on the team, but I don't limit their income. So this is how I position it to them. They have the security. They know they're going to get, XYZ from me, and then they can, if they want to make more, they can. And here's how you do it. Here's how you bring money into the team so that you can make 100 grand if you want to. So yeah, that's really smart, Tammy. So
If I started over, I literally would probably find a social media person who was
yeah,
willing to get their license and do the same deal. Now, for this to work very well, I think that you need to find the right personality type who's not only good at what they do, but someone who values stability and security. So the interesting thing, we're all taught to really rely on the DISC test a lot of times, right? And everyone says, don't ever hire a D, don't hire, you have to hire an S, a C, all of this. And yes, to a degree, but one of my most, so I found out finally that the 2 people who have been longest, most loyal, wouldn't go anywhere, really love the paycheck. One was an SCID, a perfect admin in Discworld. The other one was so high D, her D was dangling off the chart, completely dangling, right? And so I'm like, how can this be? How can they be such opposite, but they're both? And then we took the Enneagram test, which the Enneagram test looks for different things. And I don't know if any of these are hoodoo magic or what they are, but the funny thing, only 2 people in our world, our ecosystem over there at Absolute Charm, were 6s. And it was these 2. And one was a high D, one was a high S. But 6 was all about loyalty, security, and stability, and not wanting to live on the edge, living commission to commission. So both of them, whether their personality was gung ho, or support staff, they needed, wanted, cherished security first.
yeah,
So I think if you can find people that that's their ethos and
yeah.
that's what matters to them, they're going to work really hard for you in whatever way you hired them on. But for them, it's no longer the pressure of doing real estate. It's the joy of, ooh, this would be a nice bonus. I could take a vacation if I just close this one deal. And if I don't, Okay, I'm sleeping at night because I've got my paycheck. So I
Exactly.
think that's a good thing for people to really consider as they grow.
Yeah, I love that. We use Cloverleaf. If you, I don't know if you've heard of that, but it actually takes Enneagram, Myers Briggs, DISC, and there's like 4 or 5 other different things, and it like there's all these different assessments, but they all kind of look at different aspects, I guess. And so it all kind of meshes together. And then it tells us how we work side by side. You should look into it, Tammy. It's
I
like
will.
$10 a month per team member. It's amazing. And then our team, they wake up every morning and they tell me this is their routine. They check their Cloverleaf coaching notes, and the Cloverleaf will tell them this is how you win with Jessica, or this is how you solve a problem with Angela or a different team member, or like this is your problem today. Or I mean, it's like reminding them of their weaknesses and strengths, but more so that they can be aware so we all work cohesively. It's just really interesting.
No, I love
Three
that.
on the Enneagram. What are you, Tammy?
I was a 7 the first time I did it, business person, but I took it again and I came out as a 1. So I'm like,
I was gonna guess a one with
okay, I
you.
guess
So the ones are the perfectionist. They're the goody two shoes. You refer to yourself like that in your
I am such a goody two shoes, but I feel like I'm so not a perfectionist. Maybe I expect myself to hit that standard, but I'm very much an 80% person because I don't want to ever be the one that stops all progress trying to get it more perfect.
Do you think that that's something that you've had to grow yourself to become like in a healthy state, or have you always been that way?
I've always been that way.
Okay.
I have never, um, and I think that's interesting because that's why I say my daughter, I think, is probably going to love law school. She says she has a little OCD. I said, well, as long as you're channeling it to good, you're channeling it for good things. We're all very different personalities. And I'm very much a no, let's just, get it as good as we can, but we got to keep moving. We don't have time to stop and and my husband tests often as a 1, but he is the perfectionist. And so part of me loves and just cherishes that it's so important to get every detail right. But I see too much of the negative of it just stops too much progress. Done is better than perfect. And that's really my motto in life. And I think it always has been. Now, do I want to exceed? Do I want to be magna cum laude? I mean, summa instead of magna? Yes. I make sure. Do I want to get the honors position? Yes. I want all those things. But my mom, I think, was pretty smart back in the day when she always told me, do the best you can. And it was really simple advice, but it was never, you need to make straight A's. And I internally had drive and wanted to do things, but all she said is, all I've ever asked is you do your best. Do your best and then let it go, put it down.
Yeah.
And that was some really good advice.
Well, as we wrap up today, do you have any advice for someone that's maybe they're going through a restart themselves in real estate? Maybe they're new to the business, or just they're like, okay, now's my time. I'm going to be successful. What would your advice be to that person?
I would say value self-awareness more than anything in any part of life, but particularly during this. I tell a story of when my daughter first took the LSAT because she just inspired me in her self-awareness and her tracking. So what you track, what you focus on is what's going to grow. This really came true for her. She 4 years ago, 3, 4 years ago, took the LSAT right at ending college, and I paid for her to have a course. She goes, I got a 157. 152 is national average. So it wasn't a bad score, but it wasn't getting her into the top 20. And her words, because of her immaturity, but her self-awareness, she goes, Mom, I really kind of squandered that opportunity. She goes, I took the class and I really liked it, but I didn't do any work outside of class. And I think that's where the growth comes. I just really squandered it. I said, well, this is great news because this tells me, most importantly, you're not ready for law school. It will chew you up and spit you out. There's no time to squander anything. So this is a win. Unfortunately, it's shown your immaturity, but good time to know it, right? So let's just regroup. Let's just have some personal growth, get out there in the world. She graduated, started waiting tables, right? So 6 months ago, she's like, okay, I think I'm ready. I don't want to wait tables. I want to be a lawyer. So I said, okay, let's do it. She said, can I do the course again? Bought the course again. This time she really studied hard. She started tracking. Guys, if you have something that worked for you in your business, stop and think, analyze why. She goes, okay, every other day I'm doing a full multi-hour practice test. And she tracked what time she woke up, what time she had her coffee, what she ate for breakfast, or did she eat for breakfast, what her meditation routine was. And she wanted to find minute tweaks she could make to tick that score up. She literally cut her hours at work down to 20 hours a week and started studying on the clock 32 hours a week for that test. So by the time and I think we all just need to own our mindset. She
Yeah.
said, every day I start my day with a walk and a meditation. And her meditation to begin with was, I am fast, I'm focused,
Mm.
because she has ADHD and it's hard for her to read quickly. So she goes, I'm fast, I'm focused. She would internalize that message to herself. What I love even better is a little while later, she goes, in doing these practice tests, I see a few that I rushed when I didn't need to. I had enough time. So she changed her mantra, which we all need to be doing constantly, to I am fast, I am focused, I take my time when needed.
Mm.
She gave herself permission to pivot that and to take time on the one she needed. So she went from that 157 to a 167. Then, which is a great score, she goes, I got one more in me. I got one more. I can do better if we can do the next one in the next month. So then she went deeper into literally time of day of everything. Guys, in your business, when did you make calls? When did the calls work? When did people answer? When were they in a good mood? When were they in too big a hurry to get to dinner? Just become insane with this. She did. She said, I realized halfway through my stomach would growl and I was allowed to eat something, but if I ate too much, it would take the blood to my stomach to digest. So instead of doing that, she goes, I realized 2 cherry tomatoes was ideal. So when I say get granular, I'm saying, and guess what she got? She got a 176. That
Wow.
is half of 1%. Out of the 20,000 who take that test every year, 200 get a 176 or better out of 20,000. So the point I'm making is she did not get smarter.
Yeah.
She worked harder and she tracked and she owned all of it. She said the result of this test will 100% come from my efforts. And if you realize that in real estate, 100% of this, there will be people making a lot of money in real estate while others sit around whining that the market's down. So you get in there, go early. If you used to go at 8, get there at 7:30 if you have to now. Do whatever it takes to be just a vigilante of real estate prospecting, and then track what worked. Be very intentional about that and go deep on the things that are working for you. Work harder than you ever have, and you can get that reward. She literally, I've had other kids go, well, she's so smart. I'm like, well, she is, but she was smart when she got a 157. You were a smart, good realtor when you didn't get the deal, right? When you didn't go back and look back at your listing presentation and think, what about that can I make sure I never do again? And what can I share with my team? We triage all the time. We go back and have autopsies, and we're like, okay, on that deal, what did you do that you could have done better? And
Yeah.
I've lost listings when I thought, I can't believe I didn't say it this way. That one thing would have changed everything.
Yeah.
So track and be aware, and that can change your business for real this year.
Oh, I love that advice. I'm going to have to go back and listen to that again because that was so good. And if you want to get her book, you can get it on Amazon, Stop Waiting to Die. Super good and very entertaining. She's had a very fascinating life, and I believe most of us can see ourselves in her life in some way, shape, or form, which I think was the goal. So, all right. Thank you so much, Tammy.
Thank you.